Start by doing a coconut rice in the Instant Pot. Now, I am doing real rice, not rice. We'd use a lot of quotation marks in grain-free and dairy-free cooking. But I do the cauliflower rice for myself. My family loves just a jasmine rice. This one is coconut, and then I'll do some lime and cilantro usually at the end, or just leave it coconut. But it's really, really simple. I have a cup of rinsed jasmine rice. My dog is pawing at the door. We're going to just ignore her. Paige is behind the camera, by the way. So feel free to ask questions, say where you're from, and I'll answer them as we go along. And then I have 1.25 cup of full fat coconut milk. When we call for full fat, that means that we're using a can, which I threw away. We don't want to do a carton because it has things in it that keep it from solidifying on the shelf. And so this is what we want. We want it to have a good amount of coconut fat on the top. And then the water, you can actually use coconut cream too if you want. And then it has a tiny bit of water. You can also do a little bit of chicken broth. And this recipe was developed so that you wouldn't have an extra portion of a can of coconut milk in it. So we're using a bit as our marinade too, which I already have here. So the excess is what's going into your rice. So you're kind of just using one can, throw it away. I hate having leftovers in my fridge, especially like a 1/4 cup of coconut milk. You can throw it into a smoothie, but most of the time we forget it and we leave it sitting. And so most of the dinner recipes that are over on Make It Good, my Substack, or in my recent cookbook, Make It Easy, they're always developed with that in mind, whether you're using it in the recipe that you're making that night, or it's a meal plan where you're maybe making something else that tastes entirely different, but you're utilizing some of those leftover ingredients so that by the time you get to the end of the week, your fridge has nothing in it and you're ready to go grocery shopping again. It doesn't have a bunch of like herbs left over, sauces left over, things like that. That's always the way that I try to kind of think in that way when I'm developing for you guys. All right, so 4 minutes on high, and then we'll do a natural release. Are there any questions? Is anybody here?
People are here.
I'm like,
no questions so far.
All right. Thanks for joining in, everybody. I know this is kind of an odd time, but I always will send out the replay via email. So if you're on my email list, you'll be able to watch it. Again, there's 2 tiers. There's a free tier and there's a paid tier, but everybody always can watch these. So make sure that you check your email after I've gone live and you can tune in.
My question from Instagram, what type of pot are you using?
Oh, this is an Instant Pot. Welcome.
Infomercial.
It's an Instant Pot, not an Insta pot. It's Instant Pot. It is an electric pressure cooker. I've had many of these over the years, but I've been using them for, 10 years. It is a lifesaver. First of all, you could cook rice in it. Second of all, you can slow cook. You can make soups and stews. Nothing's going to come out looking pretty. It's going to be brown. And if you overcook, you'll overcook your vegetables, but it is so nice. You can throw in frozen meat, which you can't do in a slow cooker. I use it all the time. So what I'm going to do actually today is I'm going to marinate some of this chicken. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll double it, because then you just kind of dirty one bowl, one set of measuring spoons at a time, and you can put it in the freezer and just pop it frozen into your Instant Pot. Now, I should say this recipe doesn't use the Instant Pot to cook the meat. We actually saute it, although I'm going to use my air fryer tonight. But lots of different options. But you could marinate this with the same marinade. You could throw it in the freezer in a bag. You could put it into your Instant Pot frozen, cook it for about 15 minutes from frozen, which is like unheard of. And then you can pop the lid off and just add some vegetables in at like the last minute. And you could have kind of like a Thai stew. Just another way to kind of use that some of the same ingredients and have a really easy freezer-friendly meal.
Someone asked, have you ever tried a thorough mix before?
Thermomix.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I feel like that's a UK, Australia tool that I've not seen a lot of here. People love them and they've used it to convert some of my recipes, but I've just never used them before. All right. So marinade, guys, I always say I'm a cookbook author. I've written thousands of recipes, published 8 books, but I still have picky kids just like everybody else. So I have my chicken thighs and my chicken breast separated. And to make things easier, I'm just going to do my marinade all in one kind of measuring cup. And then I'm going to just eyeball it. I doubled the marinade because I have a lot of chicken for my family. This is just a curry paste. You can use red or yellow. Just be careful of the ingredients. Flip it over. Make sure that it's just sweetened, if it is sweetened at all, with coconut sugar, which is also what I just put into this coconut milk. And then it really should just have a couple simple ingredients. I really make sure there's no oils, no extra sweetener. Those would kind of be the two major things to look for. I like, what's that brand? I just gave it away. Hold on, I'm going to grab it. You can ask the question while I'm doing this.
Someone was asking what the difference is between doing using a pot on the stove or using an Instapot.
For the rice
Mm-hmm.
specifically, it'll just cook faster. I also just kind of love that I don't have to babysit it. You can, I mean, it cooks with the natural release. Actually, it's really not that much of a difference. But I like that I can just put the lid on. I can walk away. I don't have to worry about it boiling over on the stove, overcooking. It almost cooks, I think, perfectly every time in here. And then I can kind of move on to my other things. But you can totally just do it on the stove too. So this is the one brand that's Macala. I love this one. Very, very simple ingredients. There's just like 5 ingredients. Also, some of the Thai kitchen brands are good too. So we're using yellow in here today. And then this is just some curry powder. This is kind of like a mesh of a few different cuisines. It's not like super authentic, but it's Thai style and my family loves it. Also, with all of my recipes, I'm going to show you because I printed it out over on Make It Good because that's my Substack. I have a lot of extra space to write. And so I'm giving you a lot more than what I can give you in a cookbook in terms of method, like a little bit longer methods, extra tips, like I said, store-bought shortcuts. And then I always give you this really big, long sheet of different substitutions. So if you can't or you don't like chicken, you don't have chicken on hand, you don't have some of the marinades on hand, you don't want to use cauliflower rice or you don't want to use regular rice, I give you swaps and subs for everything. I wish I could do that in all my cookbooks, but I can't because of page count. But it just makes the recipes so much more usable for kind of every person, whether you're on a specific carbohydrate diet or GAPS, or you're doing paleo, or you can't have, coconut, but you can have almond or vice versa. I just try to give everybody different options so that it works for you.
This is just another rice question from Jessica on Substack. How do you feel about rice cookers?
I don't have one, but that's because I personally don't eat rice much. I've been able to add back in a little bit of brown rice here and there. But I was grain free for 16 years, something like that. So when I started making rice more for my family, I just started using this because I try not to have too many contraptions. I'm sure a rice cooker is great, but I use my Instant Pot all the time for all sorts of other things, like we just mentioned. So if I can have one machine, like I don't even use my slow cooker anymore. Very rarely if we're hosting a party or something and I want to make, or like a football party where I want to make a huge thing of chili, I'll pull it out. But I very rarely even use my slow cooker. So I kind of just tried to minimize, and it has like 6 different functions. So, gosh, it's like an ad for Instant Pot right now. But yeah, it just works really well for lots of things. I think a rice cooker is probably great. Actually, speaking of rice and substitutes and what I eat, I don't have it out right now because it's in the freezer, but I found these pre-seasoned, kind of like marinated versions of cauliflower rice at Sprouts. And they have one that's just like olive oil and different herbs. And I think it has some garlic in it. It's become my favorite. And it works, even though I think it's parsley and garlic or something like that, but it works really well. I've been making these salmon kind of sushi bowls with it. And I use it for this, but it's just really nice and flavorful because cauliflower rice can be really boring and really bland, even though I have a lot of recipes for like coconut cauliflower rice and things like that. It just makes it really easy. You just dump it into a skillet. And so that was my one side note. Okay, let me talk to you about the chicken really fast. The recipe calls for you to cook your broccoli in a big skillet with ginger, garlic, and then pull that out and then do your chicken in kind of single layers so it gets really nice and crispy, kind of like a chicken satay skewer from a Thai restaurant. But because I'm doing close to 4 pounds, because I have a 15-year-old, almost 16-year-old boy who eats a lot and a 10-year-old who eats the same amount, I am going to, like I said, I have the big toaster oven air fryer. It's the Our Place one. And so what I like to do is I just do single layers on the air fryer basket of this chicken. And it only takes like 7 minutes. And then I'll just kind of work in batches. You could also do it on a cooling rack, set over a sheet pan on convection in your regular oven and do it all at once and kind of put it up a little closer to the burner. But it doesn't take very long because we've already cut it into 1-inch chunks, which just helps the marinade coat all the different pieces. It makes it more flavorful. But we're skipping that whole step of skewering it and everything and putting it on a grill. So there's many different ways that you can cook it. Again, if you were to put it in here, you would have to add some liquid, and then it would end up being more kind of like shredded chicken, which is delicious. It's just going to be kind of a different style of a bowl. So I'm covering these because it's only 10 o'clock here in California. And I'm just going to cook it tonight so that it is a little bit more fresh. We'll have some leftovers too with this, which is great because then I can make some bowls for lunch for Ryan and I. Sometimes what I'll do is just take, show you. I love these containers. They're Elo brand. And so even before my kids get to dinner and polish it all off, I'll just make like 2 of these and put a little rice, a little broccoli, a little chicken, and just stick them in the fridge or the freezer so that we have a couple lunch portions, because if the food is there, they will eat it. So I sometimes like siphon it off before they come to dinner.
I got a couple questions for you.
Great.
Samantha's asking, how long do you recommend marinating the chicken for?
I have you only marinate it for 30 minutes, I think, or I say up to 12 hours for this. The longer, the better. It tastes better. So if you want to just get something out of the way at night, the night before, you can throw it in. Honestly, it can stay in the fridge for 2 days with the marinade. There's nothing that's acidic that's going to start to like kind of cook the protein or like start to break down the the protein and make it cat food, which can happen mostly with beef. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's just seasonings and coconut milk. So you could leave it for a couple days, and then you could also freeze it in the marinade and then defrost it. And then it will even just like permeate kind of even more.
Kate from Substack is asking, do you like having a toaster oven / air fryer? I've thought about getting one, but I have limited counter space, so I can't decide if it's worth it.
So I was like anti air fryer for a long time, and mostly because the baskets were so small that as a family of 5, I was having to do many, and I even tried like the XLs. I was having to do so many batches that it didn't make sense. And then most air fryers are coated in toxic chemicals on the outsides, the nonstick chemicals. And so I just at high heat with the fan going, I was like, I don't feel like this is good. My house would smell. So I was anti for a long time. I also was like, if you have a convection oven, just use a convection oven. It does the same thing. I am totally sold on the one that I have. I have it. I'll show you here. I'm going to take you both.
Field trip.
Field trip. I have it right here. I don't even know if this is in frame. I can show here. Yeah. So it's right there, and there. Okay. Paige is going to have to make sure that my cameras actually are like in the right spot again now that you're back. Hopefully you didn't just get lost. So it just kind of is like squeezed up against my fridge. I will say my kids use it all the time. And that was partially what made me sold on it, because my oldest started making like, I keep frozen chicken nuggets, or, like leftovers, French fries, things like that. And so if he could come in and help himself for his like 3rd dinner of the night and not require me in the kitchen and not have to be putting on an oven when like we're going to bed, that made me feel great. And then it has a timer, and that one specifically, I'm super sold on because it has a proofing function. So you can proof breads at 80 degrees. It has a dehydrating function. It also has a steam function to reheat leftovers, air fryer, and I got rid of my toaster. So like, again, kind of the same thing as this when I talk about like just wanting minimal appliances. I don't even have a toaster anymore. Like we got it when we got married, had it for about 17 years, and then it went out the door. So yes, I think that one is 100% worth it. It has a very steep price. So I would just say wait until we're closer to like maybe a holiday where there's a discount or something, or maybe if our place is watching, they'll give everybody here some sort of a special discount. I'll try to get you all a code.
Lori from Substack says, very exciting for your baking book. Any updates on sourdough starter? I tried a grain-free one with no success.
Okay. This is Lori.
Yes.
Lori, you have to watch the roller coaster that I post over on Instagram. That's usually where I do a lot of the behind the scenes in my stories. So if you follow me on stories, you know that the starter went down the drain. We gave up on that temporarily for this book. So there's a couple things. Number one is I was trying to do entirely grain-free, which meant really cassava. I would occasionally give it like a little boost feed with a little arrowroot. But it is so expensive, and cassava is super absorbent, and it definitely can spoil more quickly. But a bag of cassava is like $22. So all of the discarding, I just was like, this is not worth it. And when I'm writing a book, I want to be an expert, obviously, in that field. And sourdough is new to me, literally within the last like 6 to 8 months. And I didn't feel like I had adequate enough time to become an expert enough to put it into a book to then teach you guys. So I will recommend, it's not grain. Well, she does have a grain free one, but it's buckwheat. So it just depends on if you can tolerate that or not. But there is a book by Iran. I never know how to say your last name. I'm so sorry. It's called gosh, do you mind going again?
Yeah.
I can never remember. It's like gluten-free, something basics. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's that green. Where is it? It's right. I feel like it's the green binding right in front of you. Maybe. Yes. Art of Gluten-Free Baking. There it is. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous book. If you are into making sourdough, I highly suggest that you just get this book. It is a stunning book to look through. She does use grain flours. It's all gluten-free, but she does use some grain flours. It is like the most gorgeous book, and some of the things that she makes in here make me just want to make it all. I mean, I'm trying to find like a loaf because they're just beautiful. Anyways, all that to say, I'm not going to give up forever, but for now, it just didn't feel like I had enough time to really be able to walk you through it all in a book. And quite honestly, the fact that she did this whole book on just bread, I think is the way to go, because there's so many nuances to the starters and to what you can do with the discards, and if like you start to, like if the starter starts to, I was laughing, by the way, at all of the lingo in the sourdough world. And so I think it needs its own book. So I will continue to work on it. And maybe in a few years, you might see a book from me, but I need time. So get that. Now, I will say that we came up with I'm calling it a cheater sourdough. And so it uses, I'm not going to give it away, but it uses some other kind of fermented foods to give the bread that sour taste. And it still does, it uses dry active yeast. So we are still proofing, but it's a much faster process, and it's really good. Paige actually took it home to her family who makes real sourdough and they liked it. And my family's eaten it. And so I still have a few more renditions that I want to go through on that just to make sure that it's sound. And I introduced a few different flours into that one, just a few things to kind of dry the crumb a little bit to get a better rise. So this book, you're going to see a few more things than just my standard almond arrowroot coconut blend, because that blend can only take you so far in a few different things. Mostly the breads chapter, the fried pastries, so donuts, and we did sopapillas, and we did we did like an empanada, we did apple fritters. I'm like, I know Paige and I, we have PTSD from our frying weeks that we did. The funnel cakes. I was like, what's that carnival treat called? So I introduced a few things. Does somebody want to see it?
Yeah, they just want to see the author and the book.
I'll post a link after.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Anyways, so there's a few different things. I do use cassava in a few recipes sparingly. The bread, we introduced just a little bit of potato starch. I've also learned about how actually arrowroot and tapioca, while you can substitute them for one, they actually really do have different properties. So there's a few breads that include both arrowroot and tapioca. I'll give you swap and substitution notes and kind of give you an idea of what to expect if you swap those for a difference in your textures. But for years, a decade plus, I've been saying, arrowroot and tapioca, just swap them interchangeably, which it works, but it really does change the texture. Tapioca is a little more dry. It gives things a little bit more of a crisp crunch on the outside. It's just been really interesting to go through and especially as I'm trying to give you guys swaps, to really dig in and learn a little bit more even about the flours that I've been using for 15 years, because this book is dedicated to that. So yes, that's just kind of my quick little spiel on that. Okay, this is going to be ready here in a few minutes. I'm not going to cook my broccoli because we've been chatting so much. So the recipe, it's so simple. It's oil, it's broccoli, it's a little bit of ginger, garlic. By the way, if you didn't see what I learned from Ina Garten and Amy Poehler, she's my new favorite podcast. If you need joy right now, which I think we all need, just that little extra dose, listen to Good Hang with Amy Poehler. I've been talking about it for the last few months. I go out on walks and just laugh out loud. It's just like hanging out with two friends for an hour and just getting to have a really funny and fun conversation. Nothing super serious, which I think we just need. And Ina was like, you have to get a new microplane every couple of years because you can't sharpen it like a knife. I've had my microplane for probably a decade. And for everything from like either, I mean, cheese obviously still works, but ginger and garlic and zesting a lemon. Once I got a new one, I was like, oh, I forgot how well this works. So we're gonna peel our ginger with a spoon and then we'll just grate it, cook the broccoli, and then you take it out, and then that's when you can add your chicken. I'm gonna just kind of get it prepped and ready so that it's hot and crisp and fresh tonight at dinner because my kids love broccoli, but if it's just like a touch overcooked, they won't eat it. Then I turn it into soup. There's a high protein broccoli soup. I think it has like 25 grams of protein. It's over on my Substack on Make It Good. And that actually came because I was steaming broccoli for my kids one night and I walked away and forgot about it. And it was not mush, but like very, very soft. They like it to be a little crisp tender, my little picky children. I kind of agree, actually. And so I turn it into a high protein soup. So if you ever overcook your broccoli, go look at that. All right, last thing before I just answer a few more questions. The bowl is rice or cauliflower rice, the ginger, garlic, broccoli, the marinated chicken cooked, and then drizzle a sauce on top. So my favorite, which they didn't have, is the Trader Joe's peanut chicken sauté sauce. It does have a little bit of sugar, but otherwise the ingredients are really clean and really great. They didn't have it, so I kind of just made it my own. I did an organic Valencia peanut butter, a little bit of coconut milk, a little bit of red curry paste. I did a little bit of coconut sugar, and then something that gives it a teeny bit of sour kind of kick. So if you have tamarind, that would be great. That's what's in theirs. And then a little bit of lime zest or lime juice otherwise. So that's going to go and be just drizzled on top. You can use almond butter. You can use sunflower seed butter. I have a few other recipes linked in this recipe, which I will link. That's a lot of words, a lot of linking that you can use. There's a couple in my cookbooks. There's, I think, one on another bowl on my blog. So just variety on just depending on what you have on hand and what you guys can tolerate. Any other questions before I start wrapping things up?
Yep. Kate from Substack says, what recipes are you most excited for the baking book? I'm so excited for it.
What am I? The monkey bread yesterday, I was pretty excited about. People have been asking me for monkey bread for ages. And my cinnamon rolls that are beloved by all of you, thankfully, from my celebrations book, which is now 10 years old. 10 years old. Which means Easton's 10 years old. So celebrations is 10. My cinnamon rolls have been made for years by all of you, but they're definitely more of a biscuit kind of style because that's just what I say, like almond coconut arrowroot can only take you so far. I think I've created most of what I can create with that texture. And the things that I've never been able to create, it's because I needed to add a few other grain-free ingredients. The monkey bread is one of those. They're so much more kind of chewy and doughy and don't crumble like a kind of like a biscuit. So those I'm really excited about. I'm actually really excited about the bread that I was talking about, the cheater kind of sourdough. I am excited about there's been a few things that I was like, oh, this is so good. And I can't wait to give it to you guys. What else?
I feel like there's something that we just made that was so good.
We're in such a blur, you guys. I'm like testing notes. Hold on, let's see if there's something that sparks. Oh, well, yesterday, I think we haven't filled it yet, but I think we nailed a Swiss roll or like a ho-ho cake. Like a big giant Hostess rolled chocolate cake with like creamy filling and a ganache on the top. The first couple we did cracked. And so, and that's a little tough with grain-free to make sure that if a bread doesn't crash when you're trying to roll it. Some of it's a method. So we'll go into that as we get into the book. But anyways, gosh, it's all a bit of a blur. I'm like, there's a lemon cream pie. There's a French, what else?
The quote unquote Oreo.
Oh,
cookies.
Yeah. The Oreo cookies.
The Doreo cookies
are going to be really good.
Yeah,
you guys are going to love them. They're honestly not even that much of a labor of love. I mean, cutting out 24 circles, or if you want to double that, and filling them. But other than that, those are great. I was afraid I would never be able to get the crisp crunch of an Oreo cookie, and we've figured that out. Again, some of it's method. There's going to be a lot in the book that just talks to you about kind of the science or the why, not science because I'm a home cook, but kind of the why we do things and like why there's this extra step or why we're choosing this ingredient over this ingredient. The French silk pie yesterday, excited about, but the Oreos. Oh, actually here, this will help me. Here's my Here's my
Oh boy.
can't zoom in on it, but there's my grid of all the recipes that are going to be in this book with a lot of chicken scratch and a lot of crossing out, because typically what happens is when I first start dreaming up a cookbook, I end up with like 300 ideas and I put them all into a spreadsheet and break them into chapters. And then as I have to start to filter myself because my publisher will only let me have a certain amount of pages, I go through and kind of figure out, okay, like this is too close to there's too much chocolate, which is almost always the case. I need to turn this off or this is going to overcook. There's some other things. There's a Milano cookie recipe, which actually is already on Substack, thanks to our friend Caitlin who requested it. So you can get that now. But if you're a paid subscriber, but I'm already super excited to get that into the book. So you can get it now, becoming a subscriber. You can wait for 2 years and get it in the book. At some point, you will get it. What else? All the things with passion fruit that we tested were really good. That's
Passion fruit curds.
the passion fruit curry is really good. I don't know. I mean, those are a few of them. It's kind of hard for me to think about it right now because we're still into testing mode and my brain is a bit of a mush. But yeah, and the fried stuff, like we're not all breaking out a fryer and frying things all the time, but when you have not been able to have a legitimate like fried donut in over a decade, it's pretty fun to get to have it. I always joke that yes, I've given you guys so many donut recipes over the years, but let's be honest, they're basically a muffin with a hole in the middle. It's like the texture, again, almond, coconut, arrowroot, great for so much, but it pretty much always will give you either a cakey muffin or kind of a biscuit type texture, right? So it's been pretty fun to get to like experiment a little bit more and have those things. Even if I maybe make them once every 5 years after this book comes out, it'll still be fun to get to like have a recipe to be able to make them. So that while it was very frustrating and discouraging as we like went through the testing of that, and we were both tired of standing over boiling boils, it was great once we landed on like the final. Oh, I know what's probably my most exciting. There's a choux pastry, and we made eclairs, and we made cream puffs, and we made profiteroles. That might be what I'm excited about those. Actually, I kind of forgot about that. All that we blocked it out. It's like childbirth. block out the moments. I think the choux pastry 14 or 15 renditions. I mean, it was a lot. All right, so there's our rice. It's not that much because again, like I'm not eating it. My 15-year-old won't eat this. He'll want regular rice. This is where we make these bowls. We keep them all in containers. Everybody just kind of can make up their own thing. It works really well. Okay. Any like final questions before we head off?
Yeah, just to go off of what you were just saying, Emily from Substack says, how do you get your kids to try new things? If they don't love it, what do you do for them in last minute at dinner time? I know my husband would love the saute recipe, but I'm not sure about the kids.
My kids actually really like this recipe. So first of all, I would definitely try it. This would be something that my oldest, when he first saw it, would be like, I don't want it. And then I would make him try a bite. And he finds things that he likes. He is still he just is like a very simple. It's not even that he's picky. He's just like, he kind of knows what he likes. He's just a very simple eater. He doesn't like a lot of sauces. He's just kind of like, just give me like the meat, rice, and a vegetable. But my wins with him is he'll eat giant bowls of salad. He will eat like tons of broccoli. So I'm like, great, we're okay. I think getting him to try a bite, and then I have a kids cooking course, and I say this in the kids cooking course. It's a digital course. There's 20 something lessons. My kids are cooking with me. And I think that the best way that I've been able to get them to try things over the years is that they're in the kitchen with me. Because if they're smelling things like this or they're measuring things in and they're like, what does this yellow powder taste like that I'm putting into this bowl? It just makes them so much more willing to at least try their bite, and if they don't like it, I'm not forcing them into it. So what I would do typically is if they didn't like it, I wouldn't make something totally new. Once they got to a certain age, I'm like, you can go make yourself some Applegate hot dogs. Or for a long time, I would be like, okay, you like the broccoli and you like the rice, but you don't like the chicken, then you can just have a big giant bowl of broccoli and the rice so that I'm not making anything else. And I think that also kind of helped them like try new things too because of that. Because they're like, I don't want just a bowl of broccoli and rice. I want to have some chicken or something. Also, my kids have eaten Thai food with us over the years, and chicken satay was always like their favorite thing when we'd go out to Thai. So kind of like tying it back to things like that too, of just like, hey, remember those Masher used to call them yellow chicken on a stick. And I would be like, remember the yellow chicken on a stick that you liked when you were like 5? This is basically that. And so that just like giving them kind of like, remember that thing you had, XYZ, or when you were on vacation, or when you were at this restaurant, this is like that. So you should try it just in case you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's honestly how I got my kids. What was it? There was something that Asher wouldn't eat for a long time. And I was like, you like whatever, I'm like, you like ketchup. If you like ketchup that's made from tomatoes, you'll probably like the spaghetti sauce. If you like the spaghetti sauce, you'll probably like this chili. It just is almost the same thing, but it has a little different seasoning. So just kind of like working them through that, because kids just immediately want to say that they don't like something, even though they've not tried it.
You have gotten 2 separate comments about how you're like Alton Brown, being scientific. Yeah.
It's fun. I like that. That's a great compliment.
I know. I thought you'd like that.
I do love that. I took Easton to go see the Alton Brown show. I am nowhere near Alton Brown. I mean, this book, I'm trying to give you as much as I can, but he is like so scientific. I'm going to try to break it down more as from like a home cooked knowledge as much as I can. But we will try to talk about, why we use granulated sugar over like a liquid sugar. Again, the flours, kind of like what the different properties are, so that as you get into your own kitchen and you can't have something that I use, you at least have the knowledge to why I'm using it, so that you can make more of an educated kind of swap, right? You're not just like reaching for coconut flour instead of arrowroot and swapping them one for one, because you know that coconut's super absorbent, that it absorbs all the moisture that arrowroot doesn't, and things still might turn out differently if you go and change the recipes. They definitely will. I should say that. That's a caveat. But at least you're making a more informed decision. Great compliment. If people, Ina Garten has been something that I've heard that is like the best compliment in the world. My first book, people told me that it was like their new joy of cooking, Against All Grain, because they had to throw out their joy of cooking. They couldn't use anymore. That was probably the best compliment. I've never heard Alton Brown, and that I'm going to add to my, when I'm feeling low, I'm going to add that to my thing that'll pull out and tell myself, thanks.
Speaking of a joy of cooking, someone said, would you consider a volume 1 and volume 2 joyful paleo baking encyclopedia?
I would love to. Volume 1 and volume 2. Right now I'm just trying to get through volume 1. This kind of what this is. That's kind of what we're calling it, like a handbook. But again, maybe volume 2 is breads. Like maybe that's kind of the next step, because I can tell you the chapters. They're going to change. They're subject to change, but there's a cookies chapter, a cakes and cupcakes chapter, muffins, scones, biscuits, and breads is kind of lumped. A breakfast bakes, which might get cut because my editor wants me to cut it, so don't hold me to that one. But there's a Dutch baby in there, so I feel like that has to. I don't know where that else will. I don't know where that will go.
The Dutch baby's great.
Dutch baby's great. That can't. And there's a lot that has to stay in there, so I'll probably push back on that one. There's bars, there's pies, cobblers, and crisps. There's fried treats, even though they're not baked, and this is definitely a baking book, but we're still squeezing them in there. There's a no, that's going to get cut. I think and then there's like sauces, frostings, fillings, and then there's going to be more of like a foundational. So your choux pastry, what you can use that for, right? It's eclairs, cream puffs, profiteroles. You can do them for savory. You can even turn it into like pizza crust. White cake, how to take like a just very basic grain-free white cake and turn it into a funfetti, a tres leches, layered cake, and like a sprinkles. Well, I already said that, funfetti, sprinkle funfetti. Oh, cake pops. Coconut cream. I have a lot of ideas.
Jessica on Substack says, if you cut it, you can just put it on your Substack for your weekly.
That's what I do. That's what they all say. Everybody's like, oh, you're cutting recipes? Are they coming to us? Anytime I cut a recipe from a book, I put it on Substack. And then I also, like I said, I sneak book recipes to Substack because they're paid subscribers. So technically it's like not public, right?
Yeah.
But technically I'm not breaking my contract. But yes, so that's kind of what you're going to expect in there. I'm sure there will be a volume 2 at some point. I have a lot of books that I want to write. So there's that. I want to write an Instant Pot book. I want to write a sheet pan book. I want to write a book where I travel around the world and cook with grandmas in countries, Italy and Thailand. That I'm like and they teach me, but then I create a grain-free version. That would be a book that I would write. I would keep writing. I love doing it. So I can't promise when, but yes, at some point.
Nicole from Substack is asking, do you plan on doing a book tour for the baking book?
That's to TBD. Nicole, I right now am like, I'm not doing a book tour because I'm tired. And if you guys followed along for the shenanigans of the last book tour where I had to replan the entire thing, I'm a little burned out. But it'll be a good like 4 years in between the last one. And so I love being on tour with people. I love getting to see you all. I have to just figure out, and this is what I've always like every year that I do a book tour. The first ones I did 25 cities. Just as my kids grow and we're in a different season, Ryan is working in an office a few days a week now, and then at home a couple days. And so things are just changing. I'm with my kids a lot more right now in this season, and they're just getting busier and they need me for driving and for sports. And so I think I'll do it, but it'll probably be limited, like 8 to 10 cities max. And I don't yet know what that will look like, because what I love to do on tour is to cook. What like my Eat What You Love tour, where I'm on stage and we're demoing things. A baking cookbook's a little harder to be able to do that because you've got a lot of waiting for things to proof or ferment or bake. So I don't know yet what that's going to look like, but I would love to do one. I just have to kind of wrap my brain around it. And that's still not, this is in development. It gets turned in June. It goes through photography and editing, goes to print in like the new year, and doesn't come out until the fall of 27. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Is that right?
Uh-huh. I think so.
Well, yeah. So it's still a ways away. So I would love to. I just don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see.
You're getting a lot of lovely compliments. Allison says you're getting close to getting another driver in your family.
I am. Although I was saying today, he's dragging his feet. He's just like not interested. Maybe because I was the baby of the family, but I was like in that office taking my test for my permit the minute that I could be. Driver's license test on my 16th birthday. He is past his 15th and a half birthday, has not done the education that he has to do to get his even permit, which in the state of California, you have to do 30 hours to even get a certificate to pass the permit test. Then you have to have your permit for 6 months and, 10 hours of driving school and 50 or something with your parents. So he already is at a point where he can't get his license on his 16th birthday. And I'm like, come on, man. But he's the kind where he's got to push himself. And I'm like, he's going to get to his birthday and be like, dang it, why didn't I do that? And he's got to learn it that way. But yes, we will have a driver, which will be really nice and also terrifying at the same time. But he's a pretty cautious oldest child. So he will be the one that I'm probably the least worried about in terms of recklessness.
Just another fun one. Kate asks, are you still loving SoCal?
Love SoCal, Kate. Every day I'm like, we get to live here. Fun news that we can share more, I'm sure, at some point, but Ryan actually just accepted a new job down here, which was not in the original cards, as not on our bingo card, as people say these days, the kids say. And so we thought we might be here kind of seeing how it was for a year and then maybe going back up north, and we're here. And we're super, super thankful that we get to be here. We love it. Not just the weather, but the people, the pace of life, just the amount of family time, the neighborhood, the community that we've gotten to be a part of. We love it. We still love the Bay Area and love visiting family and things up there. But it's like a new chapter. Or as my friend Bob Goff says, sometimes you actually have to close the book and start writing a new one. And I feel like that's the season that we're in right now. So yes, we love it. Okay, I'm going to cover this up. We've got a lot of testing to do, so I've got to go because I've got a long list of recipes that Paige and I are making today. So Stay tuned on my Instagram stories because I share a lot of the behind the scenes failures and successes of testing a baking cookbook. You will see things that flop like my angel food cake, but maybe today we'll get it. All right. Bye, guys.